This morning, it's my pleasure to introduce Steve Kraft as our keynote speaker today. I first met Steve many years ago at the Ontario Fire College, and I instantly found a friend. Steve's been an ardent supporter of firefighter safety and a great student of firefighting. Steve is also our first Canadian keynoter, eh? I was hoping there'd be some Molsons backstage, but let me tell you a little bit about my good friend Steve Kraft. Steve is a 24-year veteran of the Richmond Hills Fire and Emergency Services in Ontario, Canada. He has completed a certificate in fire service leadership. He is a graduate of the Protection Technologist course of the Ontario Fire College, and he is completing his diploma in public administration from Western University. He's an associate instructor at Ontario Fire College. He has been published in fire engineering and has taught at FDIC for the last 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our 2012 FDIC keynote speaker, Steve Kraft.
I love you, buddy. Thank you. Let me start by thanking the Editor-in-Chief and retired Fire Chief Bobby Halton for those kind words. Let me also say thank you to FDIC for giving me this tremendous opportunity to share a few words about leadership. I am truly humbled, honored, and excited to be standing on this stage where so many great leaders have previously stood. I need to ask a favor of everyone this morning. During my talk, I need you to listen with the intent to look in the mirror and self-reflect. You see, it's way too easy to listen to what I'm about to say this morning and think to yourself, wow, makes sense. If only my chief was here, or if only my captain was here to hear these words. He could really benefit from these words. That's what happens to many of us during speeches like this. We don't think of ourselves as needing help or learning, but we always think of someone else. As I go through my speech this morning, I need you to ask yourself, what can I change? How can I become a better leader? How can I make my department better? You need to understand that poor leaders point fingers at other people and blame them for the lack of leadership or direction in your departments. But the great leaders, they take personal responsibility because they understand if they make just a few small changes, they can make a huge difference to the behaviors and the attitudes of the firefighters in your department. I have a question for you. Who can remember the call? What I'm referring to is the call we all received when we were offered a firefighting job. Remember that call? Who can forget it? I remember sitting downstairs in my parents' family room watching TV. The phone rang. I answered it, and it was him, the Deputy Chief of Richmond Hill Fire and Emergency Services. I remember that phone call like it was yesterday, and I bet you do too. Do you think people can remember the phone call they received when ABC cleaners called and asked them if they're still interested in a job? Now, that's not meant to bring any disrespect to ABC cleaners, as I'm sure working for them is a good job. But it's not the job of a firefighter. We all dreamed about becoming a firefighter, and we've all attained that dream, whether it's full-time, part-time, or as a volunteer. We all have a job that we love, or at least we used to love, which very few people in this world can say. My question to you is, do you still love being a firefighter? Do you still love the job as much as you did the very first day you started? I need you to reflect and ask yourself, would that young, enthusiastic, energetic firefighter that you once were be proud of whom you've become today? I'm thinking some of you will honestly answer yes, and quite frankly, I bet many of us in this room will say yes. That's why we're here. But where are all the other people? I realize not everybody can be here because we need firefighters to respond to emergencies. And we need firefighters to be at home with family. And unfortunately, some are at home sick. But where is everyone else? Why aren't they here? What do you think their excuses are for not attending FDIC? It's too expensive. My department won't send me. I don't have time. Really, I don't have time. So when we get back home after spending a week at FDIC, we won't have things to catch up on. We won't have paperwork that's waiting for us, training to make up, grass to cut, or in my case, maybe snow to shovel. You mean to tell me nobody in this room had to make sacrifices to be here? Yeah, that's what I thought. There are lots of firefighters in attendance today that had to make sacrifices. I bet many firefighters in this room paid their own way to be here. I bet many of you are going to miss a significant event just so you could make yourself better. So why are you different? I'll tell you, because you get it. How many of you have heard Chief John Salka say, now that you've got the job, get into the job? Well, you guys are into the job. You are leaders, and leaders find a way to get things done. Leaders don't make excuses, and they don't blame other people. They just make things happen. Thank you for making things happen. There are leaders making things happen from all over North America attending FDIC this year. I know that because when I walked through the hallways on Monday and Tuesday, I saw T-shirts representing thousands of different fire departments. But you know what? We're all experiencing similar issues. I guarantee I can gather up one firefighter from each department represented here today, and we can all sit in a huge auditorium. And the only thing that will be different, the patches on our shoulders. Sure, some of us may perform different disciplines like technical rope rescue or confined space, but when it comes right down to it, we are all experiencing similar people issues. We all have firefighters that have been on the job for 18 months, but talk like they've been there for 20 years. We all have firefighters that can't talk for more than 30 seconds without trashing the department or an individual firefighter, a brother or sister, I might add. We all have firefighters that have been on the job for 25 years, but they only have 1 year of experience because they really haven't learned anything new since their first day in the recruit class. And we all have firefighters that if they haven't heard a rumor by 9 o'clock in the morning, what do? They start one. That's right. We work for the same department. But the question is, why? Why do some of our firefighters become so negative when we all know this is the best damn job in the world? And we know it's the best job in the world because hardly anybody quits. And many of us work beyond our retirement date. Here's what I think. I think we all have a few officers that don't understand or don't appreciate the influence they have on their people in their department. They don't understand how their lack of positive leadership is hurting their department and the fire service in general. Now, I want to make one thing very, very clear. When I say officers, I'm talking about lieutenants all the way up to the fire chief. All of these officers have influence over firefighters. So, once again, ask yourself, as a leader, are you hurting or helping your people? Are you motivating or demotivating your people? Are you inspiring or encouraging your people? When a firefighter sees your screensaver, do they see the pension countdown clock that shows you only have 8 months 22 days and 34 seconds until you retire? Yeah, very motivating. You guys have seen that, obviously. So why do I believe the lack of leadership by some of our officers is to blame for the negative attitudes of the fire service today? Here's why. I have never seen a new recruit go through the academy with a poor attitude. All the recruits act just like we did when we reported for our first day of training. They are energetic, excited to be at work, and very polite. They don't talk negatively about the department or any individual firefighter. They wear their uniform with pride and they address officers by their proper rank. Now, this refreshing attitude lasts for the entire academy. The academy concludes, and then the recruit firefighter gets assigned to a company. Each company is led by a company officer who becomes what? The recruit's mentor. Yeah, you all know where this is going. Some recruit firefighters flourish, yet others sink faster than the Titanic. Why? Why does this happen? It happens because we all have great officers and we all have poor officers. Unfortunately, when a poor or negative officer mentors a recruit firefighter, it doesn't take long before that young, impressionable firefighter gets sucked into the vortex of that officer's negative and destructive attitude. Needless to say, we don't need to spend any time on the great officers. Keep doing what you're doing, and the entire fire service thanks you. But we do need to help the officers that are hurting the fire service. I don't know about you, but I will not let negative officers, officers that don't care about this great profession, and officers that continually badmouth and gossip about our departments and our people destroy the absolute best profession in the world. As officers, we've all been given an incredible opportunity to lead, and we must never, ever disrespect that opportunity. So, how do you become a great officer? First, you need to want to be a great officer. Let me ask you this. Raise your hand if you want to be a great officer. If you didn't raise your hand, my advice is don't ever become an officer. And if you're an officer now, go home and hand in your badge. If you can't commit to being the absolute best, don't be an officer. Robin Sharma said the enemy of the best is the good. Well, good doesn't cut it. Great officers commit to being the best. Now, if you're committed to being the best, but you've been in a rut and you need help, or as my friend Chief Eddie Buchanan said, sometimes our compass is out of calibration and it needs to be recalibrated. Good for you for recognizing this. Let's get started. I want to share 5 very important points that I believe will help you become a great officer. To be a great officer, you must be a great coach. To be a great coach, you need to encourage and motivate your firefighters. You have to be there to show your firefighters what good performance looks like, and you have to monitor your firefighters every single day. Inspect what you expect. When you see a mistake, a great coach corrects it. She doesn't ignore it. In almost every class I teach, I make this statement. If you don't correct people when they do something wrong, then don't be surprised when they do it again. If you didn't tell them what they did was wrong, maybe they don't even realize that they made a mistake. As a coach, help your people grow. Pointing out mistakes and helping your firefighters be the absolute best should never be viewed as a negative. It's being a great leader. You're helping your people succeed. Always remember, encouragement is a necessary part of being a great leader. Point number 2, all great leaders show their people they care. John C. Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Great leaders care about their people. I learned this one the hard way. I like to think that I care about our firefighters because deep inside I know I truly do. Richmond Hill has the best firefighters in the world, and I would expect all of you to think the same way about your firefighters. However, I've realized that I don't always show them how much I care, and one day that was painfully obvious, and I want to share this lesson. A few years ago, one of our firefighters was off for a couple years with a health problem. When the firefighter returned to work, I proudly went to see him and welcome him back to show him how much I cared. I was feeling great about what I was about to do, thinking the firefighter would really appreciate me coming to see him. Boy, was I wrong. After a little bit of small talk, I shook the firefighter's hand and I welcomed him back. I told him how much we appreciated him and how much we missed him, and he made a profound statement that I will never, ever forget. He said, Deputy, I was deputy chief at the time, he said, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed. He said, we worked together for many years when you were my captain, and I always respected you. During my 2 years off, I wondered why you never called me at home to see how I was doing. He looked at me straight in the eyes. He said, Deputy, why didn't you call me? Wow, I didn't see that one coming. I didn't know what to say other than, I'm sorry. You see, I was caught up in my own little world, and shame on me. This was a lesson I'll never forget about caring for your people. I'm here to remind me and you that great leaders care for their people. And caring for your people goes beyond seeing them at work. Take a personal interest in their life and definitely be there when they need you most. Point number 3, great leaders learn from their mistakes. Never be ashamed to make a mistake. As a matter of fact, I believe we should be making mistakes every single day, because that means we're trying new things. We're making things happen. It's been said, if you've never failed, you've never lived. Of course, I'm not suggesting we should be making the same mistakes over and over, but if you're trying new things, you're trying to grow as a leader, and you're engaged in your fire department, you're going to make mistakes. Leadership requires the willingness to fail. You can get knocked down, but the great leaders get back up. Michael Jordan got back up. Did you know he was cut from his high school basketball team? Walt Disney got back up too after he was fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination and had no original ideas. Imagine what would have happened if these two individuals never got back up. I'm sure you've gotten back up too after being knocked down. Think about how many times you got knocked down when you first learned how to ride a bicycle. Most of us didn't get it the first time. We made mistakes, and we definitely fell down. It hurt, but we got back up and we tried again. Eventually, we learned how to ride that bike. We didn't accept defeat, and we certainly didn't blame someone else for our failures or our mistakes. We took responsibility and we moved on. That's what being a great leader is all about. It's about making mistakes, taking responsibility for them, and then getting back up and trying again. John Burroughs said a man can fail many times, but he isn't a failure until he begins to blame someone else. Point number 4, great leaders lead by example. You didn't come to FDIC 2012 to listen to somebody talk about lead by example. If you didn't know that great leaders lead by example, you probably shouldn't be an officer. But what does lead by example really mean? My view is everyone leads, but that's one of the problems we're confronted with in our departments today. It's great when you have officers that are demonstrating strong leadership, talking about the good things that are going on in your department, teaching young firefighters how to be great firefighters, following policies and procedures, attending training sessions, and doing all the right things. But what about the officers that are negative? What about the officers that go out of their way to consciously destroy your fire department? You know they're out there. Let me ask this. Are they leading by example? Yeah, sure they are, because everyone leads. Strong leaders lead in a positive way, but it's been my experience that negative leaders can be louder and even more forceful. This is what we need to stop today. We cannot let the negative leaders destroy the fire service. We need to stand up and tell them to stop. We cannot let these negative people destroy this great profession that took hundreds of years to create. We have an obligation as leaders. We have an obligation to respect the past. What I'm referring to is all the retired firefighters and officers that have done great things for the fire service over the last 100 years, 200 years. Retired officers like Chief Lasky, Chief Halton, Chief Brunacini, Chief Salka, Chief Coleman, Chief Norman, just to name a few. We have an obligation to honor the past, and we can do that by ensuring the fire service continues to be the greatest profession in the world. And the only way that's going to happen is if the current and future leaders understand their roles and responsibilities. They need to understand that they have significant influence over everyone they talk to. And because of this, great leaders know how to inspire, motivate, and encourage their people. They get it. They're into the job. Finally, point number 5, great leaders have the right attitude. If you want to be a great leader, you must have a positive attitude. I'm telling you now, nobody wants to be associated with someone that always sees the negative side of things. Great leaders see the jar half full, not half empty. Great leaders have the right attitude, and they use their attitude to influence their people to get things done. They don't complain about the chief C shift or the newest procedure unless they're prepared to talk to the right people. Great leaders understand that you never complain to people below you. For example, a great captain will never complain about anything to a firefighter because they recognize if they complain to someone that can't help them solve their problem, it's just gossip. And gossip is one of the largest issues that contributes to the communications problems that I know we are all experiencing. Great leaders understand how important it is to hand their negative comments up and their positive comments down. When you complain up to someone that can help you, you're trying to solve problems. Conversely, complaining down is creating more issues. Don't do it. Great leaders take personal accountability and go about their business with a positive attitude. And this positive attitude is infectious. My friend Chief Lasky said, "Show me a positive company, and I'll show you a positive company officer. Conversely, show me a negative company, and I'll show you a negative company officer." How true is that? Remember these words: victims recite problems, leaders present solutions. I encourage you to present solutions. I want to close by saying, I don't have this leadership thing figured out. I've made many mistakes in my career, and I'm going to continue to make more. Hopefully not the same ones, of course. But I can tell you with conviction that I love this job, and I am trying to be the absolute best leader that I can be. I'm working on the things that I need to improve on, and I'm giving myself a small pat on the back when I do things right. When you leave here today, I need you to start working on things. Don't wait for the chief, the assistant chief, your captain, the union president, or anyone else for that matter, to solve the issues that your fire department is currently experiencing. Because they can't solve them alone. We fail as a team and we succeed as a team. And because of this, I'm asking everyone in this room today to just try. I'm also asking you to stop the gossip. I'm telling you, it's killing your fire department. If you only take away one thing from my speech this morning, remember this quote from Stephen Covey. Assume that everything you say about another, they can hear. Now speak accordingly. How would that change the gossip in your fire department? We all know this is the best damn job in the world, so if you're not having fun, start. Life is way too short to be miserable. Focus on the positives, and I promise you'll see your department through a different lens. Please stop me in the hallway over the next few days, and let's talk about the great things you're doing or that you're going to do in your department when you get home. Thanks for listening. Have a great conference, but most of all, be a leader. Don't just be a position. Woo. Wow. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the pride of Canada. Well, if that didn't charge your batteries, we hope to see you all back here again tomorrow morning. Remember, tonight, first time, one-time opportunity. You'll never get to do this again in your entire lives. Come celebrate the 75th birthday of Fire Chief Alan Brunacini right here at 5:30 tonight with Brennan. Sorry, Tommy. I just got hit in the back of the head. With Bruno and Norman Unplugged at 5:30. Also, please join us at the Fool's Bash behind Hooters. That's the place that has the great wings. Tonight, for the Fool's Bash, please come and support the Fools, and the Indian Metro Fools do a great job for us. I'd like to thank you all for being here this morning. Remember, keep Richie and his family in your thoughts and prayers. A special thanks to all the guys and gals from Chicago who came down and graced us with their presence. All our friends from Canada that came to hear Steve. You are the best firefighters in the world. You are the solution to today's problems. I love you all. God bless, and let's go have a great day.